Now I want to tell you about how politics really works. That's what we do on this show, right? And unfortunately, I don't see a lot of other people on television or the other forms of the media telling you the backstory here. So let me fill you in. Both sides do polling, and then they pick out the phrases that they like, and they repeat them over and over, and they frame their message. So when they go on television, you'll hear them parroting the same words over and over, and no one on television will ask them, hey, why are you all saying the same thing? Why did Michael Steele just say the same thing as Jim DeMint, who said the same thing as Roy Blunt, etc.? Because companies like Virginia-based On Message Incorporated, OMI, do a poll for the Republicans, and they tell them how they can defeat health care reform. Now, does the poll say that the American people want to defeat health care reform? No. Actually, when they do the poll, they find out that 70% of the respondents say that the system is, quote, badly in need of reform. Now, if they cared about doing what the people wanted, they would say, all right, so then how do we reform it, right? No, but that is not what they say. Instead, they say, all right, well, tell me the other parts where reform might be vulnerable, because I'd like to kill reform even though 70% of the country wants it. Well, that's where OMI can be helpful. They find out that if Obama says healthcare reform would be budget neutral and that the public plan was necessary to stimulate competition and that it would be able to keep that people would be able to keep their coverage and that Republicans are being obstructionists, then the memo says, according to the polling, if Obama is allowed to sell this, he wins. Now, all those three of those things are clearly true. The other two you can argue about. Public plan does stimulate competition. People would be able to keep their coverage. That's an absolute fact. Now, Republicans are being obstructionists. This memo shows them how to be obstructionists. I mean, there's a great irony about that. But the one you could argue about it is whether it's going to be budget neutral, right? So they say, look, based on most of the facts here, you're going to lose. Okay, so let's reframe. So then when we get to the reframing, they say, 54% of the respondents said that we do have the best healthcare system in the world. Now, whether that's true or untrue is a different story. In fact, the World Health Organization ranks us number 37, and we outspend everyone else. So we're doing terribly. We're getting a terrible bang for our buck. Now, as a conservative, you should concern about that. Of course, that's not what they do. They go out there and say, you see, you shouldn't reform the system because we have the best healthcare system in the world. This week alone, we've probably played you 4 or 5 clips from Republicans saying that exact line. Okay? Why? They got it from OMI and got it from their polling. And they ignore the much larger number of people who want it reformed. But they work it in as if they care about the reform. Here, I'll give you a good one from Michael Steele. Here's a quote. The bottom line is that we have the best healthcare system in the world. There's no doubt about that. There's significant doubt about that. But anyway, he continues, but this is a healthcare system that needs reform, and the reform we've been trying to focus on is on the cost side of this. Perfect. Hey, look at that. Michael Steele delivering a talking point nicely. He got the polling, and he's using it. Now, if he actually believed the reform part, you could say, hey, you know what? He's framing his message, but the message is all right. But the whole memo is about how not to do reform. So now we move forward. What are the other talking points that might help? It says the government should not, they realize that the polling said the government should not try and run the healthcare system, right? Now, the reality is, of course, in the proposal in the House and the Senate by President Obama, doesn't propose to run the healthcare system at all. It doesn't affect your doctors. It doesn't, those which are private. The hospitals are private. Everything is private. And your insurance is still private. They're offering a public option for insurance. So if you want that, the government would run a competing insurance company, basically, right? But since those facts are inconvenient to the Republicans, and the polling shows that people don't want the government running health care overall, they come out in every one of their interviews and go, you see, the government would be running health care. And again, never get challenged by the media. Another one that they think is helpful is that they say that people, 63%, are opposed to controlling costs by having the government set prices for services and deciding what treatments it will and will not cover. Now, as I read this memo, I think, oh my God, I mean, this is what we hear every single day on television and what we read in the papers, what the Republicans say over and over. Oh, they're going to get between you and your doctor. They're going to set the prices. They're going to tell you what will and will not be covered, ignoring the fact that obviously private insurance does the same exact thing. And that's why public insurance would compete. I don't know how much they would say those things, but by the nature of insurance, they have to. They have to say, hey, you know what? I'll cover treatment of cancer, but I won't cover your boob job, right? Your insurance company says that, what you will and will not cover. Your private insurance does, and your public insurance presumably would do that. Do they tell you that part? Of course not, because the overall aim is to kill it. And finally, they realized, hey, you know what? One thing that tested really well, and even though they kind of twisted this question in the way that they framed it, is let's slow down to evaluate the program further because we don't want to rush into a program that has not been properly evaluated. Now, that's a very loaded question, and they asked them a bunch of loaded questions before that in this particular poll, right? But since they got a positive response on that, over 50%, they're going out and saying, let's slow this thing down. If you've been watching the show all week, you'll say, oh, my God, I mean, this is word for word what they've been saying all week. And, of course, they don't want to slow down for further evaluation. They want to slow down because they want to kill the thing, and they know that that phrase tests well. And this is how politics works. Now, the Republicans aren't the only ones doing it. In my mind, they're a little bit more nefarious because they don't actually want to reform the system. They say these things to be able to kill reform, right? If they had an alternative proposal and they figured out how to best frame that, etc., I'd give them a little bit more credit. But the Democrats are somewhat onto this as well. They should get onto it a lot better than they are. But that's why Obama has changed from calling it health care reform to health insurance reform. So because he wants people to understand we're not reforming in this, with the public option, the whole healthcare system. We're reforming insurance. So people go, oh. But you see, that's framing that I can get behind because it's true. The public option would reform insurance, and it wouldn't have anything to do with the overall healthcare system. So there's a right way to use it, I think, and certainly a wrong way to use it, and the Republicans have been brilliant at the wrong way to use it.